Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to share with you some main reasons why our tattoo lines may not be coming out solid, clean, or consistent. By the end of this video, you will be well acquainted with the main reasons why we may be getting lines that aren't to our satisfaction. However, should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube channel. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. I will also leave my Amazon affiliate links and other affiliate links for you in the description below, so that way you can check out the gear featured in this video on your end. With that being said, let's get right on into this. For this video right here, I will be demonstrating with a sheet of True Skin Fake Skin. I'll also be using a small sheet of Real Skin Fake Skin. I'm going to be using dynamic black tattooing ink to apply the lines and get my points across, along with simple petroleum jelly to clean up my fake skins. I am using Phantom Tattoo gloves, and the machine that I'm going to be running is the Drago Art T2 Rotary tattoo machine, and I'm going to be using an OG Produce needle cartridge. Should the gear change along the way, I'll definitely update you. Once again, my Amazon affiliate and other affiliate links will be for you in the description below. Let's go over some main reasons why we may not be getting lines to our satisfaction. From my experience, some of the main reasons why I couldn't get solid, clean, consistent, saturated lines was because one or a number of reasons. One of the main reasons is inadequate needle depth, where our needle depth isn't correct. Our needle isn't hitting to the right depth, so therefore it's not depositing ink into the correct layer of the skin, which can result in a number of consistencies, from kind of faded looking lines, the line weight can be inconsistent throughout the line that we pulled, and more. But those are some of the main adversities that we get from inadequate needle depth. Another reason why we may not be getting clean, solid, consistent, saturated lines is because our hand speed and voltage could be unaligned. Let's say if we are moving too fast for our needle to work, then the line is going to come out inconsistent and have a sort of faded look to it. Let's say if we're moving far too slow, then we can risk scarring and or blowing out lines. So along with needle depth, hand speed and voltage is another main reason why I've experienced inconsistent lines. Not only that, another reason why I've experienced inconsistent lines, and it's not really too common, could be the angle of our needle and the way that we're holding the machine. So let's say if we're using a sort of round shader tattoo needle, and let's say we are going to be depositing ink kind of at this sort of angle. Well, that means the needles that are sitting up top are not hitting the skin. So therefore, when we do the line, it's going to be darker on one side and have a gradual fade on the other. And if the line's curving or if the line's long, then when that line's done, there's going to be inconsistencies. Typically, when we have a bad angle, half of the line tends to be a lot more saturated than the other half, which means only half of the needle was getting to the right depth while the other was just hitting the surface. It's important to remember, when we are tattooing, there are multiple variables that are working together to provide us with solid, clean, smooth results. If any one of these variables is unaligned, such as needle depth or hand speed and voltage, it's going to reflect within the work that we are doing. Let's get into the demonstration aspect. I'm going to demonstrate improper needle depth as well as proper needle depth. I'm going to demonstrate improper hand speed and voltage along with proper hand speed and voltage. And then I'm going to demonstrate improper angling with proper angling. So that way we can get an idea as to what we could expect when we are off on any one of these variables. That way we can also know the results if we are doing it correctly. So let's get into the demonstration. Let's start with needle depth. In a nutshell, needle depth is how far the needle is going into the skin, and it's basically where the needle is depositing the ink. If we go too deep, we risk damaging the skin, scarring the skin, or blowing out the tattoo altogether. If we go too light, we risk the tattoo falling out. We risk a sort of faded look to our tattoo even when it's fresh. You can kind of get the idea. We have to get right in the middle for our tattoos to heal well and stand the test of time. Here I have a small piece of real skin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate improper needle depth, so that way we can know what to expect when our needle depth is off. I'm going to moisturize the area that I'm going to be tattooing on, and I'm just simply going to pull a line with improper needle depth. I'm running at 7.5 volts right now. My needle hang is that far out. And improper needle depth would look something like this. So you can see that not all of my needle is making it into the skin. And you're going to notice that it has a sort of faded look. This side over here is more saturated than this side. Let's do this again here a couple more times. And you can see the streak marks on this round shader. And that's just some of the side effects for improper needle depth. But in a nutshell, when we have improper needle depth, we're going to get a sort of inconsistent, patchy, faded look to our work here, which is why it's important that needle depth is really understood before we start tattooing on human skin. So you can see I'm going way too light right here for these lines, so much so not even the needles themselves are able to catch and do anything to the skin. So this right here is improper needle depth. This is going way too light. Allow me to demonstrate proper needle depth here now, and I'm going to do that right under these. So when it comes to proper needle depth, we want to make sure that the needle pierces into the dermis, breaks the skin, gets into the dermis, so that way the entire needle is depositing with all the needles this configuration has. Same thing over and over. You can see I let the needle catch, and then from there I begin to make it to my point B. This right here will provide me with clean, smooth results if my needle depth is correct. Same thing here. Let the needle do its thing. Taper it in right here. And you can see now that we're not getting any streaks as we did like these up here. This right here is more of proper needle depth. So if we aren't getting this variable right when we are applying our tattoos, we can't expect clean results. This is one of the variables that is important. We have to have needle depth. Each and every single tattoo that we do, we have to be real familiar with it. Now, I've done a video on blowing out human skin, but I can still demonstrate down here where we go too deep for needle depth, since going too deep is a variable and it is involved with needle depth. Improper needle depth where we go too deep would resemble something like this. So you can see I'm getting skips and snags. That means I'm pushing down a little bit too hard within the line. Now I know this may look solid and saturated, however, this sort of approach would be damaging to the skin. When this heals on human skin, it may have a sort of raised feel to it. We shouldn't be able to feel our tattoos. They should be smooth just like the skin that they're on. So if we go over here, this right here is way too deep. I'm actually forcing and pushing the needle down. When we are applying a tattoo, I don't really feel like there's any need to drive a needle into the skin. There's no need for that, as the needle will do all the work for you as long as you know where the depth is. So let me go ahead and demonstrate a couple more times here. Improper needle depth. And you can see almost every time that I pull these lines, it snags. So if we're experiencing any sort of snagging, it may be related to needle depth. We may be going just a little bit too deep. And you can see that, again, they do look solid and consistent, but if we take a close-up look here, you can see that these lines are kind of bleeding into one another. So if this was on human skin, these lines right here are going to be blown out, and it's going to have a sort of bruised appearance to it. Not only that, even worse, over time, these are going to start blending together until they blur. Here are a side-by-side look at the results here. Now, this is going too light. This is improper needle depth. This is perfect needle depth right here. And this is going too deep. This is also improper needle depth. So too light, too deep, just right. Now, I know these two kind of resemble each other, but if we get the fake skin and we flip it this way, you're going to see that we actually almost blew out all the way through with this last set of lines right here. And you can see how thick this skin is. So that is what we want to avoid. The only way to get familiar with needle depth is not around, but through the motions, through the experience. We have to pull lines and we have to get used to improper needle depth to figure out where proper needle depth is. So improper needle depth, whether we go too light or too deep, could be one of the main reasons why our lines aren't coming out to our satisfaction. Let's get into hand speed and voltage. I want to demonstrate and kind of repeat the process as we did here. I want to demonstrate inadequate hand speed and voltage, and then I want to demonstrate proper hand speed and voltage. So let's get into that. When it comes to hand speed and voltage, the idea of it is understanding that our needle is making a certain rounds per minute. Now, if we're not letting the needle make its rounds and deposit the pigment, then we're not going to get consistent lines. Let's say, for example, if we're moving too fast for our current voltage, which is 7.5, we're going to get really choppy, inconsistent lines that are very similar to these right here. Let's say if we're going to be moving too slow, then we're going to get lines that are damaging to the skin, very much like these right here. Allow me to show you what it's like when we move too fast with our hand speed and voltage. So keep in mind, I'm running at 7.5. If I'm going to do a line like this, for example, that's way too fast. I'm not giving the needle any time to actually saturate, penetrate, or do anything to the skin. The skin has to break through, penetrate the skin, and then deposit the ink. And that's where understanding those rounds per minute come in handy. Granted, we're not going to know how many actual rounds it's making unless we have the proper equipment to read that sort of parameter. What I'm saying is we're going to have to feel this out. So obviously when I'm moving like this, you can see that these lines are coming out really faded. So if I did the whole tattoo like this, when I'm done, the tattoo, even though it's fresh, is going to have a sort of faded appearance, which is what we want to avoid at all costs, just like this area of needle depth as well. Now, hand speed and voltage is much like needle depth. When we align our hand speed and voltage, we're going to get clean, consistent lines. If we move too slow, we're going to get lines like this. If we move too fast, we're going to get damaging lines. This is proper hand speed and voltage. So I'm going to, and keep in mind, I'm running at 7.5. The same rule of thumb here about figuring out hand speed and voltage is going to apply to any voltage that we are using. We just have to kind of feel it out and know what we're looking for. So I'm going to give the needle time to break the skin, and then as you can see, I'm moving as the needle is depositing in a nice consistent motion. I'm not going too fast and I'm not moving too slow. So you know what fast looks like. This right here is more of a healthy hand speed and voltage right here. Give the needle time to break the skin so I can deposit the ink like so. Then I'll essentially repeat the entire tattoo with this hand speed and voltage. That right there would be adequate hand speed and voltage. This is the ballpark of where we want to be. It should feel natural. It shouldn't feel rushed or too slow. Let me demonstrate what moving too slow would look like or resemble. So if we have hand speed and voltage moving too slow, right now I'm at 7.5. Let's say if I went like this. So now I'm moving extremely slow, and what's happening is the needle is breaking open the skin and depositing ink in this area more than I want. So what that means is when this is on human skin and it heals, these lines are not going to stay true to the integrity that I use. Ink always settles in the skin, and when that happens, it spreads out a bit. So that's another reason why understanding hand speed and voltage is important, because if we're going to be doing designs that have a lot of like dainty lines or fine lines and details, we have to understand hand speed and voltage, so that way when the tattoo heals on human skin, it stays true to the integrity and the line weights that we originally chose. Let me go ahead and demonstrate moving too slow a couple of more times here so that way I can get these points across. So you can see the needle broke the skin open, and now I'm moving just way too slow. This is either going to scar the skin and or blow it out, or maybe both. So that is way too slow right there, definitely damaging the skin. This is way too fast. We kind of want to just taper in and move at a healthy, consistent pace as you see me doing here, like so. So much like the needle depth, this is too fast, too slow, just right. Swipe away and see the results. A quick recap right here. So this first area is needle depth. This is hand speed and voltage. Now, without either one of these, we're not going to get consistent results. If we're not aligning our needle depth with our hand speed and voltage, then these are the similar results that we're going to get. We're either going to get inconsistent, patchy, faded looking lines, or we're going to cause a lot of damage. These two fundamental variables have to work together for us to achieve clean, solid, consistent results. Let's go ahead and get into bad angling now. When it comes to bad angling, it's pretty a straightforward idea. So if, let's say for example, we are using a round shader and we want to stay true to that line weight integrity, then we wouldn't be able to approach it like we would with a round liner. So for example, if we have a bad angle, then this is what a line is going to come out like. So you can see that this is not depositing all of the needles. All of the needles are not hitting the skin. And on this side over here, it's coming out a lot darker than it is on the left. So you can see all the needles are not able to hit the skin at the same time, which is going to result in inconsistent lines. Even though our hand speed and voltage and needle depth are aligned, if our angle is off, we're never going to get clean lines to our satisfaction. It's very, very important to understand when we need an angle and at what angles. So right here you can see I'm leaning too far to the right. It doesn't matter if we're going this way as well. It's going to be the same result, just an opposite. However, this right here is bad angling. Keep in mind, this is also a round shader. You can see the needle line weight is nowhere near these line weights right here, and that isn't what we want. We can't have that much of dramatic fluctuations within our work, because if the line weight on the design called for this specific line weight, it's this line weight that we have to apply to the design, not that one. And this right here is an adverse reaction for bad angling. Let me do one more bad angle, and you can see it's really tipped over this way, and only, oh, excuse me, and only this side of the needle is actually depositing the ink there. Forgive me for that little skin skip right there. All of this right here is wrong. When we're using a needle, we want to angle it so that way we can capture the needle's integrity and line with the needle's line weight that we chose. So let me show you proper angling. For this needle specific, this is a 9-round shader from OG Produce. I want to capture all the needles at once. I need all 9 needles to show up, and I need that line weight to come to light. I need it to be in the forefront. I can't have this sort of lines or this sort of fluctuation going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be mindful of how I angle. So I'm going to place my machine down, and you can see I'm going to allow all of the needles to hit first like that, and then I'm going to pull my line. So this right here is what I would describe as proper angling. Let me get a little bit more ink. So you can see that when I touch down here, all the needles are depositing together. This right here lets me know that I am angling my machine and needle correctly, so that way I could accomplish this line weight. So if I go like back, all of my needles are now in, and you can see that this line weight is dramatically different from these up here. You're going to notice at the beginning of every line, you're going to see all 9 needles start breaking open the skin. This right here is how I would angle my machine to get clean, consistent lines. Keep in mind, if the angle is off, then we're not going to get the lines that we are looking for. So you can kind of see how needle depth needs to work with hand speed and voltage, and angle needs to work with both for us to get clean, consistent, solid, saturated results. Here's a close-up look at these results. Let's keep in mind this first row is needle depth, the second row is hand speed and voltage, and this last row is needle angling. This area up here is improper needle depth. This area right here is improper hand speed and voltage. This right here is improper angling. This is proper needle depth. This is proper hand speed and voltage, and this is proper angling. This down here is improper needle depth and improper hand speed and voltage. If you're getting results that are similar to this, chances of the issue being one of these is very, very great. Let's say if you're moving too fast, you're going to get these lines right here. And if you're not going deep enough, then you're going to get results like this. If you're moving too fast, you're going to get results like that. If you are going deep, then we're going to get results like this, which are damaging to the fake skin and human skin. If we're moving too slow, then we're going to get results that are very similar to this. I hope this can give you an idea as to some of the results that you can expect when we aren't aligning the needle depth, hand speed and voltage, and angle fundamentals. Here are a couple of leaves that I'm going to use to demonstrate a little bit more, but on a tattoo design to give us a better idea. So I'm going to demonstrate moving too fast and improper needle depth, and then I can go back over and touch it up with proper hand speed and voltage and needle depth. So I'm going to start right here. For example, when I'm moving too fast and when we are tattooing a design especially, this is what improper needle depth and moving too fast looks like. So I can start right here, and this is decent angling, but my needle depth is wrong and I'm moving way too fast. So you can see that this line already has a faded look to it. The reason being, as I mentioned, I didn't give the needle any time to do its job. I didn't give it time to accurately open and break the skin, nor did I give it time to make its rounds per minute to deposit the ink in a clean, solid, consistent manner. I rushed through all the way, and these are the results. Nor did I hit the proper needle depth. So all in all together, my needle depth was unaligned. You can see my angle fluctuated, and my hand speed and voltage was off. These are the results. Let me move over here and kind of do the same thing. So let's go ahead and kind of keep moving fast here. So this is improper needle depth, improper hand speed and voltage. And it has a sort of faded look. The last thing that I want is my tattoos to appear faded, especially when they're fresh. That's not what I want at all. And this is why that happened. You can see I'm moving just way too fast. Let me go ahead and clean this up to see what we have. And that's what I mean by faded. There's no saturation, there's no consistent line weight, there's just this here. On the leaf next to it, I'm going to demonstrate with proper technique so you can see the results of improper technique. Let's kind of go over here and let's demonstrate proper technique so that way we can see a side-by-side comparison. So I'm going to start right here. I'm giving the needle enough time to break the skin open. I'm angling it correctly. And I'm going to make my way around this way. And you can see that the technique is tremendously different from the previous technique that I used to apply the leaf next to it. I'm moving at a more steady and mindful pace, and you can see that the results are showing. I'm going to continue right here. You also want to make sure that you have adequate ink flow, so that way the ink is being deposited by all the needles. Always make sure that you have adequate ink flow. Let's go ahead and wipe away and let's see the results. So you can see off the bat that is tremendously darker and more saturated than this area right here. I'm going to continue with the rest of this leaf so that way we can really see the difference. Taper back in right here. I'm going to move at a steady and consistent pace. Like so. And that is far more saturated than these lines over here, but it's because of the technique that I'm using to apply these lines. Let's go ahead and finish the remaining areas here. Taper in and taper out like so. Taper back in. Taper out like so. And then repeat that over here. And there we go. And you can see all of the lines are the same as these neighboring lines in line weight. There is no fluctuation. You can see they're nice, solid, clean, consistent, and saturated. That's because I'm aligning my needle depth with my hand speed and voltage with good angling. Let's go ahead and continue this last little area right here, and then we can add the details. Make sure that that needle catches, breaks the skin before I move. Taper out this way, and I'm gonna taper back up this way and out over here, like so. And then we could add these last little details here. There we go. And then over here we can add these, but I'm going to add these with improper needle depth and hand speed and voltage like the other ones. You can see that it is a dramatic difference when we have proper technique versus improper technique. Here is a close-up look at these results right here. It is really obvious which one was technically applied incorrect, and it's obvious to tell which one was technically applied correct. You can see that this one is nice, clean, smooth. All of the line weights are consistent to the neighboring lines, where we have this one, it's looking faded already. None of the line weights are really consistent, and certain areas are a bit more darker than others, which is a side effect from improper application, and this is a side effect from proper application. I do hope that this video can raise awareness on the importance of understanding and mastering the fundamentals of needle depth, hand speed and voltage, and angling. I do hope that you can take some information with you to immediately apply to your tattooing journey. Should you have any questions at all, I'm going to encourage you to drop a comment down below. I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring my bell, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your support. Have a great day.